To put it simply, cancer is when abnormal cells multiply uncontrolled. The normal human body has over 100 million cells. These cells will normally divide via signals. And when the signals are maybe faulty or lost, then the cells will multiply uncontrolled. These cells that multiply uncontrolled therefore provide abnormal cells. And when these abnormal cells continue to grow, they will form a tumor. The tumor could be benign or maybe cancerous. This cell division could start from a single cell, or it could start from a group of cells.
So cancer is caused by changes or mutations of the DNA that's contained inside a cell. And this DNA is packaged into many individual genes, and within each gene contains specific instructions that tell the cell how to function, grow, and divide. And when there's a mutation or an error in the instructions, this can cause the cell to stop its normal function and potentially become cancerous. One of the more common mutations in cancerous cells allows them to grow rapidly and continue to do so, bypassing controls that instruct healthy cells to stop growing. Gene mutations can be passed down or inherited from your parents, and these are mutations you're born with. And these type of mutations only account for a small percentage of cancer. It's important to remember that having an inherited genetic mutation doesn't necessarily mean you'll get cancer. Most cancerous gene mutations occur after you're born, and most of the time, cells can recognize when a mutation is present and repair this mistake in the DNA, but occasionally these are missed and the cell can become cancerous. It's also important to remember that there will be many people who develop cancer where doctors haven't identified a known mutation or another cause for cancer. What we do know is that some factors increase your risk of cancer, including older age, lifestyle habits such as smoking and drinking excessively, exposure to the sun, and being overweight. And there are also some chronic health conditions that can increase your risk of developing certain cancers, as well as environmental factors, such as being exposed to cancer-causing chemicals known as carcinogens, viruses, and radiation. And usually it's a combination of mutations that increase your risk of cancer combined with environmental factors, and together these interact and work together to cause cancer.
I would like to share about the preventable causes of the cancer. 4 in 10 cancer cases can be prevented. Actually, this is a huge figure. So the risk factor include smoking, which is the largest contributing factor to cancer, and obesity, sun and UV exposure, diet, which is very important as well, alcohol consumption, infection, for example, like hepatitis, HPV infection. The others are like an hormone exposure, because the long-term and hormone exposure can increase the risk of the cancer. The other like an environmental factor, which includes air pollution and radiation exposure. Last but not least, there is the occupational factor, for example, like working in a construction and with the high risk exposure of the asbestos, and which can increase risk of the lung cancer and cancer of the lung covering, which we call mesothelioma. And agriculture, including like working with chemical and pesticides. So this is very important because these can be prevented.
So the important thing to realise with cancer is that there's over 200 different types of cancers, and each one can present with slightly different symptoms, and that when cancer is detected early, it can be cured, but if it's left until a later stage, then treatment becomes a lot more difficult. It's important that you know your body, and if you have any symptoms or any worries, you go and see a doctor as soon as you can. The things to look for is if there's any lump, particularly in the breast if you're a lady, if you're feeling more tired, if you notice any bleeding from anywhere new, any weight loss or any pain on swallowing, any blood in your urine. If you get any of these symptoms, or indeed if you notice any other unusual symptoms that persist, then you need to go and see a doctor, because then we can give you the best treatment.
So for investigating cancer, we would normally do CT scans, MRI, ultrasound, PET scans, or any other imaging for that matter. We will also do biopsy. In the imaging, if I use breast cancer as an example, if you had a lump in the breast, you will have an ultrasound of the breast and of the axilla. And then if the ultrasound shows that there are signs of maybe cancer, you would get a biopsy. And then the biopsy is checked to make sure this is cancer. Then when we know it is cancer, then we check for what kind of cancer. Is it really from the breast or from elsewhere? If it's from the breast, for instance, then you could check for other markers to target the treatments. You could do things like ER, PR, or HER2, and then you could also do sequencing to check for if there is any targeted treatment, for instance, what we call BRCA gene. Then once if you've done the axilla and there's something in the axilla, then you can do a CT scan and to see if the cancer has spread elsewhere. You will also need blood tests for some tumors to check for what we call tumor markers, which can help you to see if the treatment is working. It's not really a specific diagnostic criteria, but it is helpful in the diagnosis.